Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Candidates Forum. My name is Tom Lawrence, WAKM Radio. I'll be the moderator for this Candidates Forum presented by Franklin Tomorrow, Williamson Inc., the Williamson County Association of Realtors, and the League of Women Voters of Williamson County. We've also worked with the Williamson Herald, the Tennessean, and WAKM Radio. The program will begin with each candidate being given a 1-minute opening statement for use as the candidate sees fit. Responses to questions will be 1 minute in length as well. At-large Alderman Clyde Barnhill will be afforded this opportunity as well, but will not participate in the actual forum, and I don't see Clyde here. Tonight's rules. All questions asked will be asked of each candidate. The order of those answering questions first will rotate through the B, C, and D seats and in alphabetical order until the second question, when the alphabetical order will shift to the second candidate in the race, with the first candidate answering second, and so on as time allows. We will also rotate between B, C, and D. That means I'm going to need some help. Alderman candidates will have 60 seconds to answer each question, while the mayoral candidates will have 90 seconds to answer their questions. Our timekeeper, Peg McCree of the League of Women Voters of Williamson County, will have signs updating you on the status of the time you've used. When your allotted time is over, you'll hear a bell, maybe two, maybe three. There will be no closing statement in the aldermanic section of the forum. If time allows, mayoral candidates will be given 60 seconds for a closing statement if time allows. We anticipate the aldermanic portion of the program lasting for 90 minutes, at which point we'll take a 10-minute break before resuming with a mayoral forum, which will last 60 minutes. No questions will be taken from the audience. Please, no campaign signs or paraphernalia other than T-shirts, stickers, or buttons worn by individuals in the boardroom. We appreciate your participation, but please conduct yourself in a civil manner during tonight's forum. Early voting gets underway Wednesday, October 4th, and continues daily until October 19th, exclusively at the Williamson County Election Commission Office, 405 Downs Boulevard in South Franklin. Election Day is Tuesday, October 24th. Let's begin now with opening statements from the aldermanic candidates. There is no Clyde Barnhill visible. Alderman B. Brandy Blanton. That's alphabetically correct, right?
Yes, sir. As far as I remember.
You're on the clock.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to thank everybody for giving us this opportunity. It is no surprise. It is a very critical time in our community, as you can see by the amount of people in this room. I would like to say that Franklin is no happy accident. It has taken decades upon decades of strong and involved leadership to give us the community that we love so much. I would like to think I played a very small role in that over the last 12 years. I've called Franklin home since I was 10 years old, raised 5 children here, and been very hyper locally involved through various things. I also want to say, because I feel like a question may not hit this topic, I believe it's also important as a leader in this community to be involved. beyond this dais, beyond what people think that it's just 2 hours every 2 weeks. It's so much more that we're committed to do as an elected official, but there's so much more that we should do.
Gary Moore.
Okay, we're sitting here tonight, and there's some division in us. There's division, there's an aisle here, there's people on the left and right, and there's some of you mixed in between that have different opinions about each of the candidates. Let's keep this civil. Let's not let this get out of control, and let's remember that God is in control of everything. So I want that out there first and foremost. I've already been called a Bible thumper, and that's fine. I resemble that remark, and I will keep that steadfast in my platform. So if I'm a Bible thumper, then there must be something about the Bible that interests me. You know, we all have big Bibles at home that we just dust off occasionally. We'll have one we work, and if I use a big one and thump you on the head with it, it may make a little knot or a bruise on your head. But I've got this small Bible I can take with me, my little pocketbook Bible, and I can just slightly tap you on the head, and it may mess up your hair a little. So get ready when you meet me that we're going to meet the Lord in this conversation, and we're going to talk about things, how it can heal the land.
Seat C, Greg Caesar.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, Williamson Inc., Williamson County Association of Realtors, WAKM 950, for putting on this forum along with Franklin of Tomorrow. I'm impressed by the number of people that have shown an interest in this campaign, but I'm not surprised because Franklin is a good town. You see, my family and I moved to Franklin in 2007 as a family of 4. And much like Franklin, my family has grown since coming here. We now are a family of 6. My children attend local schools. I have a child at Centennial, a child at Legacy, and another child at Winstead Elementary. My oldest, I hope, is able to watch us online while she attends the University of Arkansas. We're not the kind of family that when we move to a community, we sit idly by. We invest and we involve ourselves. And I did that right away when arriving here in Franklin. In 2010, I'm a graduate of the Leadership Franklin. I also invested in Citizens Government Academy. I participate actively in local community nonprofits like the Brett Boyer Foundation, Habitat for Humanity, and even my friend's house. My wife and I were lucky enough to be on the Mardi Gras court couple a few years ago. My campaign is about promoting community, not conspiracy, and conversation, not confrontation. Thank you.
Patrick George.
I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of interest, and hopefully you learn a lot about each one of the candidates tonight to make an informed decision of how you will vote, not only for today, for Franklin, but for the future. For the past 20 plus years, I've been in executive leadership with public companies, successful IPO, and leading mid-sized to even small businesses, right? And when I look at this, I see an opportunity where Franklin encompasses all of the above. And what really shapes my values, and a lot of my answers you'll hear tonight, is because I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a chaplain, and all those shape the values and integrity and character of who I am. So I want to thank you all for coming.
BK Muvala.
Good evening, Franklin, my gentlemen and ladies, and my brothers and sisters. This is what a wonderful opportunity for an immigrant. Remember, every one of you, your forefathers or someone is all immigrants. And this country is built by immigration. And there are certain small groups in Franklin who just want to come and say that you don't belong here to certain people. That is not right. I'm a citizen of this country. I pay taxes. My son, both of them, a doctor and an aspiring doctor, studied in Franklin, both. And today I am here to say that I want to preserve Franklin's historic heritage, landmarks, its beauty, its water resources, its culture, its code of decency, which is very important, and I want a limited government and fiscal responsibility.
Seat D, Jeff Felderman.
Hi, my name is Marty, and I'm here from the future. So I kind of am. I'm originally from Chicago, but spent the last 20 years in California in positions like this and serving for other people. And so I moved here for freedom and Jesus, and when I got here, I met with everybody and I took a look at what was going on, and I kind of was really concerned. And being that I'm from the future, I know what's going on here and I know what's going to happen here. And so for me, I decided that I wanted to give people back their voice. I wanted to give every single one of you your voice back, because our voices have been stifled here and obviously in our entire country. I can't do that, but I can do it here. Thank you.
Ann Peterson.
I also am a candidate for Alderman at Large, position D. I have a record here in Franklin. I have served as an alderman since 2007, plus more years even on the Franklin Planning Commission. And as a retired math teacher, I feel that I need to do my homework. I read and study all the materials. I want to listen to citizens' comments because I want to make decisions in the best interest of all of the citizens of Franklin. And I have a record of spending taxpayer money responsibly, and I sure want to maintain the city's AAA bond rating. I want to keep Franklin a desirable place to live and work and raise families, not only for the enjoyment of our daily lives, but also for those who come after us and for the future of the city of Franklin. I'm asking for your vote and your support.
Question number 1, directed in for the B seat, Mr. Moore. What are the top 3 issues facing Franklin, and how do you address them?
We need to look at all the permits that are coming into the city. If they're any of them sexual in nature, then we need to take even a harder look at them and decide what we want to pass them or not. Our infrastructure and growth, you're going to hear a lot about that. I don't want to stop growth. I'm pro-growth, but I'm also for infrastructure. And we need to start as simple as internet, water, cable, natural gas, electric, and our roads. We need to get all this stuff in place before infrastructure keeps exceeding. Then the conservation of natural spaces that leads to the greenery left in Franklin and Williamson County, plus our water. We are just one drought away from having some serious issues over in the Harpeth River watershed area.
Brandy Blanton.
So my focus in this campaign are the current issues as I see them, to maintain our high quality of service with our city employees, but also our high quality of life. Also, managed growth is a big ticket item, I guess you would say right now, as the influx of people continues to come. We have to look at our Envision Franklin document, our zoning ordinance, but also make sure that infrastructure is either in place or soon to come after that is implemented. Sorry, looking at the time. And then lastly, to maintain our financial stability and our triple bond rating, and that comes with a balanced budget.
Seat C, Patrick George.
So I think my top 3 issues are: 1, safeguarding our children and families and preserving individual liberties. I think that's important for our community to thrive and grow the way we want to as individuals and families. I think that's a responsible way, so less government, more community involvement. Secondly, I think we should improve more of economic viability and historical preservation. That can be done by providing support to our local businesses that have been here. That we all look at the southern charm of Franklin. I think that's a big part of it, not corporate welfare. Third part is the infrastructure and managed growth. In order to grow, we need to be very cautious in the way that we support that growth, so that we're not just looking to raise the tax base in our annexations and city development, but we need to look at ensuring that we have proper services for our community.
BK Movala.
Thank you. So my 3 main agenda for my campaign is, the first one is we all need to have a good family and happy family. So today we are seeing in Franklin, Brentwood, Williamson County, lot of mental health issues, either depressions or opioid addictions or whatever it is. I am going to work with how to eliminate or how to support people and kids to come out of these mental health issues. Second thing is the growth and sustainability. We have given lot of permissions to grow in this city. I think we need to wait for some time, see whatever the permissions have been given, we need to, after that, we need to work on more growth. Until then, we should not do that. And the third one is the preservation and the liberty and rights and justice for all.
Greg Caesar.
Thank you. I begin with, like I always do when knocking on doors and speaking with people and they ask about my campaign, I want to talk about the community. It feels as if our nation and it feels as if our state and our city is fractured right now. And I'm here to ask for your willingness to come back together. That's the foundation of my campaign. We have an outstanding city government here. We have an outstanding number of folks that work really hard every day to pick up your trash. That's not consistent with every city in America. And we have that in Franklin. I believe our community needs to come together, and that's what I'm fighting for. In addition to that, we've built something really attractive in Franklin. It's shown by the number of people who are here from outside of the community most recently, and the people who've been here for a while. We are a better community when we work together. We will have growth because we've built an attractive city. We need to make sure that our growth is measured so that it doesn't outpace infrastructure. Because what I find is that people aren't necessarily against growth, they're against the result of growth, which is traffic and potentially crime. And so I want to make sure we invest there. And then finally, we can't invest frivolously because the future depends on it.
Seat D, Ann Peterson.
Well, always, there are so many things, and I like to say, for years, there are more worthy projects than there is money to spend on them, even for a city that has such a good financial situation as we do. But we need to think about growth and the idea that we need to watch out for the impact of growth also. I think that's very important. On our projects, we're trying to prioritize what the important projects are right now. And I also want to say that another good aspect of what we are looking at now is to support all of our city departments. We're so fortunate to have such a good fire and police, but also, just the people who pick up the garbage every week do such a great job. But so many of the people that are working for the city need to be supported also. But again, there's so many things.
Jeff Feldman.
I think probably the top thing that we have to work on in this city is accountability and transparency. You hear a lot of people talk about garbage, you hear a lot of people talk about traffic, and yet they support high-density projects. They support high-density projects that are located such as, for example, the Middle 8. The Middle 8 is a project that wants to come downtown where everyone says there's bad traffic. So they say, well, we have bad traffic, we need to work on that. But instead, let's have a high-density project. So you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. And I think we need some people in government here that are going to be honest and transparent and listen to what everybody wants and also think clearly.
Second question. What is your philosophy of healthy growth for Franklin in terms of land use, density, and population? BK Muvala, seat C.
Thank you. As I mentioned previously, this is what is happening in Franklin, right? Everywhere growth, everywhere concrete, everything is happening, and we are having issues with the traffic, congestion, and we are struggling with water resources, sewage, and other stuff. So what I want to do, if I am elected as an alderman, I want to support whatever the permissions have been given now for the construction. We don't need so many rental apartments in Franklin City. We have plenty of them. So we need to manage and maintain the sustained growth, a balanced growth, where we need to see that all the permissions which have been given, we need to get that completed, see how the city evolves, and I want to preserve the beauty and the fabric of the downtown. We should not touch any of those things. And if there is anything in the urban growth, that's where we need to concentrate.
Greg Caesar.
So growth is not a light switch. You can't simply turn it on and turn it off. It's something that happens over time, and you have to have someone with the proper vision and expectations to build a plan and then to work through leadership to implement that plan. See, I participated in the Envision Franklin original document, and I provided community feedback. We need that. I just recently participated in Envision Franklin 2.0 and provided community feedback, and it was nice to see the community come together. And that's how we determine what land use should look like. And then we trust our development partners, we trust the planning board to make sure that they help provide us with the information we need to make smart decisions for our people. Now, between now and 2040, we're expected to grow to a community over 120,000. That's a lot. We need to make sure we have roads, we need to make sure we have sewers, and we need to make sure that we don't impair the community that's sitting in this room and sitting at home from being able to live and commute freely across our city.
Patrick George.
So look, when you tackle a big issue like this of how we're going to grow, you have to look at the ownership and accountability to that ownership. You have to have experienced, dedicated leadership that looks not only at the short term, but the long-term implications of this. I believe that we have made several missteps that may not be costly now to the city, but long-term will have consequences. We have a cash flow analysis based upon our bonds, and that's simply a cash flow issue. If we make some decisions, like expanding City Hall into a $100 million project or creating a bypass over 65, that's another $50 million, we are one or two decisions away from growth that will implode our fiscal responsibility. And that is important that leadership steps up, investigates, does their homework, and really provides not just the generic answers of we need better infrastructure, better ways to do this, but provides a real source of how we're going to move forward.
Seat D. Mr. Feldman.
Well, I just talked a little bit about growth, but actually Patrick hit on a topic that I was going to mention, and that is growth. Let's start here, right in this square here, where City Hall is, where we're sitting in right now. So City Hall, we've all agreed that we need a new City Hall. We actually, in Franklin, we get most of our revenue, 58% of our revenue, through sales tax. We're sitting in a property that is not generating any taxes. It would be best to move City Hall by the police station or somewhere else and use this space as somewhere that we can generate revenue for this city. Because as we all know, over the last 3 years, that sales tax will stop and it will come down. It's right around the corner, and we can't rest just thinking, oh, we have a lot of money here.
Ann Peterson.
Well, I think we do have a lot of money here. We have, we're very fortunate that we have been careful about what we spend and what we spend it on. And we have a great amount, there's a reserve, fund that's 40-something million right now, I think, along with many other things like that. So going back to growth itself, though, in addition to this, on the water resources, we get all our water from the Harpeth Valley Water Utility District, which comes from the Cumberland River in Nashville, because we don't have a water source, but we have now money, we have a connection to be able to get that. We also have been working greatly on the sewers and on our sewer treatment here, which has been very important.
Brandy Blanton, seat B.
Sure. You talked about density, land use, and population, because I took notes. I think there's a clear divide in what is a city project, like City Hall or a park or things like that. Those revenue streams and those planning are different. And when it comes to development outside of our own, we plan so far in advance, it would probably shock you. we also make sure that citizens have input on what they want to see in what areas of our community. In my last 12 years of being here, we've introduced things like conservation subdivision because we realize that some of our view sheds are starting to change. We have also implemented in my time here what we call a hilltop overview, overview, so that we don't lose those hilltops when people drive into our community and they see those view sheds they hold so dear. So I think there's a misconception of what we are able to do. We turn down development.
Gary Moore.
The Harpeth River does supply about a third, roughly a third of the water in this city. And that is also using water over and over and over again. And if you want your own water from your house recycled and reclaimed over and over again, then water quality will be suspect. Water quantity will be suspect also when a drought comes. When I'm on the farm, back home when we had a drought, we had to buckle our belt. We had to see what would we do next if the drought continued. Droughts are hard on us, and that means we're going to go to Kroger and Aldi's and Publix, and we're going to be rationed our bottles or 24 bottles of water a day when this drought happens. It's not if, it's when it happens. We have this great bond rating, and I applaud our alderman for getting that. But just because we have a great bond rating don't mean we go out and borrow more money to add more to our debt. If we do the city hall on top of our $150 million debt, then we're looking at $250, almost $300 million in debt. So thank you.
Question 3. Seat D. Specifically, what brought you to Franklin, and why have you remained? Ann Peterson.
Well, I will have to tell you the story that my husband always says. When he graduated from Vanderbilt Law School, we just had enough bus fare to get to Franklin. And I say too close to true to really be funny. But Franklin was a little town close to a big town. You know, we have seen a lot happen since then. And so we have really loved living here and have enjoyed the people that we've gotten to know. And despite the fact that for 3 or 4 censuses, we've grown by 20,000 every 10 years, you know. And so we're looking at, getting close to 90,000 probably right now.
Jeff Feldman.
I guess the same thing that brought me here earlier. That's freedom in Jesus. We really wanted to find somewhere when we were leaving California that was smaller, really loved and really wanted to live in a small town, really wanted to live in a town with great heritage and history. And when we talked to some of our friends, they told us about Franklin. I had been to Franklin before, and I felt like Franklin was the perfect place. And it's really been the best decision that we've ever made. We love living here. It's wonderful. We have met so many amazing people, and this is what's keeping me here. The drive to keep this place historic and small.
Seat B, Mr. Moore.
You could take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. I'm a native of Williamson County, Tennessee, down in College Grove, Tennessee, a 1974 graduate of high school down there. And this town was a small town with that Andy of Mayberry feel that you just loved. You hear the kids scream and play and ride their bikes. Used to play softball for Standard Farm Store on the square. Used to go to Sears Roebuck. I used to do all these things in the city back when it was small, and now it's not small, but it's brought me back. And now with all my travels and my work, my wife and I reside at the Forest Crossing area down next to the golf course. And so that's why we love Franklin, and we want to see that small town appeal. Midtown 8 is just too much. We have floodplain issues, archaeological issues. They couldn't even get the design right on the height. That was a problem. The density is a problem. The mid-8 crowd out there does not want it, but yet there was votes for it, and then turn around, votes against it, and votes against it, and votes for it.
Brandy Blanton.
So my mother made the decision to move our family here in 1977 because we could not afford Nashville. Interesting. It's probably the biggest gift that she ever gave to me, because little did I know that it would become the biggest part of my story. Why do I stay here? Because I can't imagine going anywhere else. It's home. I still am the person, and you may think I'm crazy, that gets to a stoplight in Franklin and looks to see if I see the person on the other side of the light. And the good news is I do. It is where I've raised my children. It is where I have hopefully served the community and given everything that I have within me that I don't give to my family. So you will bury me here.
Seat C, Mr. Caesar.
Thank you. So you don't get a chance to pick your family, but you get a chance to pick the community you live in and raise your family. And we chose Franklin in 2007. See, I was raised in West Tennessee, just outside of Memphis, in a town that felt a lot like this. And when my wife and I got married shortly after college, my wife was raised in Columbia, Tennessee. We moved away to Mobile, where I attended graduate school, and after 4 years and a couple of kids, we wanted to make sure our family had a chance to meet their aunts and uncles and play with their grandparents before we all got old. And so Franklin felt right. We really moved here because it felt right, and I don't know how to express it. It's kind of like when you see something, you just know. And Franklin brought us here. We could have moved to any city in the entire country, and we moved to Franklin because of the good people here, because it afforded me a great place to raise my family where our kids would be safe and they'd be able to run around in the backyard without us actually watching over them every waking minute. It was a great place for me to start and grow my career, and it's actually turned out, as we've gotten older, appealing as a place to retire.
Mr. George.
So I always love this question because when people ask me, I always say, do you really want to hear the truth? And they say, yes. What brought you here? And really it was the Lord who brought me here. I didn't know what for. We moved everything. We sold everything. We moved here, my wife and my daughter. I really felt called here along with my wife. It was a prayerful decision. And, I was reminded of that decision the other night on Saturday when we just came downtown, which is always a beautiful place to walk through, and we were praying, and on the square was a couple who was just playing worship music, just praying. And that inspired me to say, there's not divisiveness here. There's a lot of unity here. There's a lot of community here. There's a lot of folks who really love Franklin, like myself. And it's not that we're looking to change things dramatically. We're looking to improve upon that leadership to say, we have a perspective that continues that voice.
Mr. Movala.
Thank you. So it's 14 years I am in Franklin and I not left the country like my other friends here. And I can say that it's God's calling because it has provided me lots of opportunities. Whether it is community service, whether it's parks, I work with parks, and where else can I get an opportunity like Franklin Citizen Academy, Franklin Police Academy, and I am also with the church in the finance committee, audit committee. Who else will give me this opportunity? Franklin has given me really a wonderful opportunity to grow my kids, work with the community, live here and be safe and to work for the community. I have worked continuously in the community for 14 years, more than 10 organizations. I volunteer day and night and weekends. Where else can I get that opportunity? That I love Franklin and this is my family and you are my family.
We're going as fast as we can, but we're not going to get all the questions in. Seat B, Mrs. Blanton. Franklin's charter is a weak mayor form of government. What does that mean to you? And would you seek a change to the city's charter as it relates to the role and responsibility of the mayor, alderman, and city administrator.
So what it means to me is it's the, basically how we've been functioning since I've been here. Weak mayor means that the city administrator is our one employee, and he runs the city to our bequest. Do I think that we might be reaching a time where that needs to change? I think with the growth that we've experienced, being a mayor in this community is not a part-time job anymore. We raised the pay for mayor within the last probably 5 or 6 years from $12,000 a year to $24,000 a year. It was a big change, but it is still not a living wage. And what that does, even as an alderman, it is hard to serve your city when there's so much put into it. You either have to be retired, self-employed, or crazy. So,
Mr. Moore.
Yes, a weak mayor does exist here, and we need to get that changed, but I'm more interested in a weak alderman right now. I want to see the top 5 to 10 issues brought forward when I take this seat on October the 25th. And let's rehash things if we have to that's already been passed, so what? Let's relook at these things. We've advanced things too hurriedly and too quickly. So I want to be a strong alderman. Let everybody else be the weak part or the stronger mayor. I don't care about that. I just want to see my part come forth and do well with the other aldermen and work with the other aldermen on many issues. Town halls and subcommittees, we're going to hear about town halls, but I'm more into subcommittees. I've got 5 major, 6, 7, maybe major groups that I want to enlist you people from the city only. Nobody outside the city will sit on these committees of mine. They'll be talking about agriculture, we'll be talking about growth, we'll talk about water, and I'm going to feed off of these people as I work with our aldermen.
Seat C, Patrick George.
So currently, we have a weak mayoral system, as you know. But I think it's important for you all to understand how important the alderman position is. There's a lot of decision-making that's happening at the alderman level. See, in a weak mayoral system, the mayor appoints the fire chief, the police chief, the city manager, and, you know, when we look at that, that's a big responsibility, but all the other decisions are flowing through the alderman. And that's critical. So you got to have competent aldermen who are willing to not only know the issues, but be able to bring their expertise to the issues. First of all, they got to have the ability to have the expertise, right, to offer them forward. Secondly, I would say, when we look at that, we say, you know, the city manager at this point, we talked about the salary of the mayor. We say, is the city manager the influence decision? He's basically your CEO of your city, making over $300,000.
Mr. Movala.
So basically, with the charter that we currently have, we have 4 aldermen and 4 aldermen at large, and the city administrator and the mayor. See, everyone in the city, every employee of the city actually reports to the city administrator. 4 aldermen at large will come for any resolutions or vote, and only when there is a tie, the mayor comes into the picture. So I'm not sure where probably we need a change. I don't know if we need to make mayor also one of the candidate to vote every time. I'm not sure about that. But if we want to do that, then we need to bring additional alderman and we need to create additional alderman positions so that we can make the team stronger, mayor stronger, and the charters stronger.
Greg Caesar.
Yeah, so the current city administration runs the city, and it's basically at $24,000 a year, a part-time job. I've seen the current mayor, and he works a lot more than any part-time job. We've grown to the city where we probably need to consider a full-time mayor. And it's not about increasing his pay, it's about giving him the right opportunity to go and lead our city. We need to have a conversation about that. I'm not completely decided on whether it needs to be something we do quickly, but it certainly needs to be something that we have a conversation about. I'd also like to correct, I think that the leadership within the city reports to our city administrator, not the mayor directly. And so we need to understand the inner workings of our city in so much as who reports to who before we sit in these chairs and make decisions for you all.
Seat D, Jeff Feldman.
So we talk about a weak mayor system. The mayor here in Franklin, Ken Moore, doesn't seem very weak. He seems to have a lot of influence over the city administration and over the employees of this town, of the city. But he also seems to have a very big influence on the aldermen, which is kind of odd because the aldermen are really the ones that are here to make the decisions for the city. The mayor breaks the ties. If the aldermen can really be held accountable, be transparent, and really do what the citizens really want them to do, we don't even need to discuss the mayor, number one. Number two, I firmly believe we do need to change the system here. I think we have a very old city charter. I think we need a city council. I think when you go door to door and you knock on thousands and thousands of doors, you find out most people don't even know what an alderman is, but they know what a city council is.
Ann Peterson.
Well, a lot of things to talk about here. As was said, people think, or need to be told sometimes, aldermen are the city council. But to go back to the weak mayor system, really, in that sense, is that the mayor does not vote except in a tie. So that's the reason that I think it's called the weak mayor. But, of course, the work that's done is enormous. But also, we haven't said that in addition to the city administrator, we have several assistant city administrators that also oversee several departments in the city. So there's a lot more to it. It's not just that every person is reporting in to the city administrator, but also the city administrator was not just appointed by the mayor, because I can remember being on a committee that interviewed people for city administrator.
Question 5. Seat C, Mr. Muvala. Say you're elected. Say you're elected to be vice mayor of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The mayor is unexpectedly unable to serve for various reasons. What would be the first thing you'd do?
I will be very happy if I get elected as vice mayor of the city. And first thing I will, I have been observing what a mayor does in the city, and I know how to play the mayor role in the absence of the mayor. So I will be in the position, not in the resolution. The resolution will come only when there is a tie again.
Greg Caesar.
Yeah, so I currently serve on the Board of Zoning Appeals as the vice chair. So I've been in a number of times, maybe even as I walk into the meeting, being told that I'm going to have to run the meeting. So that's not unfamiliar to me, because effectively that's what our mayor does, is controls order during our meetings. Now, I want to be really clear. I am not running for mayor or vice mayor tonight. I need to get experience being a really good and dependable alderman that communicates with the people. And maybe in time, I'll pursue more advanced roles. But right now, I need you to support me as an alderman.
Patrick George.
So I think anybody in leadership who is, or maybe thrust into leadership, you have to seize that moment and not take action, but take the role of identifying your personnel, understanding the issues. That'd be the first step that I would do. You know, you speak to a number of folks in the city, and they've got some issues, they've got some better ways of doing things. I think you need to bring unity to the employees, bring a community voice in, and then at that time, you start making some decisions going forward with the aldermen. I think it's very important not to be reactive, because you've been given the opportunity, but to be proactive and assess the opportunity with a full view, not only short-term, but long-term.
Seat D, Ann Peterson.
Well, I remember, it doesn't happen that much whenever you're the vice mayor that the mayor is even out of town for a meeting. But that happened once, so I had to serve as the officer at the meeting, you know. You'd be amazed at how much that involves. And so, but I did, you know, get through all of the things that they had asked me, you know, that we were going to have on the agenda that day even. You'd be surprised at how much work the mayor does just getting ready for the meetings and everything. But in terms of maybe having to replace a mayor, we've had to, well, actually, that's how Ken Moore became the mayor, because our mayor went to, you know, be the head of the Tennessee Department of Transportation. So that's exactly how it started.
Mr. Feldman.
I have been the vice chairman of a couple of committees or boards before, so I know that when you are vice anything and the mayor or the chairman of the board does not show up, it's a lot of responsibility. But to answer your question, if I were in that position, I would listen, because really, you're not really supposed to do very much except for lead the meeting. And then if you have to be the tiebreaker, you would be the tiebreaker, but I would probably just facilitate the meeting.
Seat B, Gary Moore.
I used to work for United States Department of Agriculture Natural Resources Conservation Service. I spent 37 years with them, and believe me, in that time, I was either the acting conservationist or number 2 over 30-something counties at any one time in that 37-year career. So I know what it is to be second in command. I'm a self-motivated type individual. I've had that written on many of my reviews. I have self-initiation. I know how to get things done. I will sit down with the alderman, like I'd said earlier, and see what pressing issues that might be needed to be addressed immediately. So communications will be opened up to see, and it depends upon the length of time that I would be second in command. If it's just an overnight, a couple of day things, big deal. What if he's out sick or he's somewhere else for a week or two or a month or two? Then that's where we have to work with the alderman and get these things addressed that are pressing, begin a new lines of communications, and get our job done.
Brandy Blanton.
Yes, sir. I've had the privilege to be vice mayor twice over the last 12 years. The first time, it was a really interesting ride because I had to stand in for the mayor at Breakfast with the Mayors. Rogers and I had a great time with that morning. I've done many a public speaking engagement in that role as well. I am very grateful, and my children don't understand. They're like, I don't know how you get in front of people and speak like you do, but sometimes you just learn as you go. So I'm very comfortable with that part. But my first thing that I would do might surprise you. It would be going to each department and meeting with those department heads and those employees to find out how they are, what they see as potential changes that might need to be implemented. It's kind of hard to meet with the whole city at once, but if you start at home and you make sure your foundation is strong, it gives you a lot of credit moving forward. So,
Question 6, Seat D. Mr. Feldman, you're first up. Do you support a connected network of paved trails and greenways throughout the city, possibly a river walk?
Sure, why not? I think we already have most of that anyway. But that actually can lead me to something else that I'd like to talk about, and that is term limits. So, I think we live in a country where from the top down, we start at a term limit at the top and then it fails from there. And I think right here, we have a failure of term limits here in this beautiful city as well. And I think at some point, it's something that we should all think about. And So I can tell you that this is something I think that is important, and that when I win, I'm going to only serve one term, and then I'm going to let somebody else come in and have their chance at it, because I think that's what's fair.
Ann Peterson.
Okay, well, to talk about the trails, some of you may know that whenever the parks put together a very big parks plan, there were a number of connected trails, and by the way, I really like a lot of them, including the sidewalk that goes along Highway 96 east, and so I can walk downtown if I want to. But there was a problem about a river walk, and nobody knew about it there very much, except maybe half a dozen people. But then when the people who found out that their property was backing up to the river walk, there was a real problem, because they did not want to see the trail going right behind their houses. And so, as it turned out, it was worked out to do the river walk some other place on the other side. It still hadn't been built.
I feel compelled to repeat the rules. Please, no campaign signs, no signs or paraphernalia other than T-shirts, stickers, or buttons worn by individuals in the boardroom. Thank you. Brandy Blanton.
Yes, sir. Connectivity is a huge, important thing to me. Sorry, I can't get my words right. I've had the privilege to travel outside of our community and see some other places that have, one of my favorites is the Swamp Rabbit Trail. We will not have the Swamp Rabbit Trail, but as a result of those trips, we have people that have become engaged in committees that are looking at those opportunities. And yes, we did bring forth Riverwalk. I do not think it is dead on the table. I think that we will continue to look at those opportunities for us to be able to enjoy our downtown in a different way as it's positioned by the Harpeth River. We have other places that the city is constantly working on opportunities, not only for people to enjoy our system of sidewalks or multimodal trails. We just got through approving the expansion of the Lewisburg Avenue sidewalk that will take you all the way to the end of the eastern flank. We look for connectivity opportunities all the time.
Gary Moore.
In working with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, I felt a great need to learn about conservation easements, and I've worked with nonprofit entities about conservation easements. And I want to bring our developers in, if they will meet with me, and let's talk about conservation easements. Let's try to preserve this natural space. These areas are not being built. Why are they not being built on already, people? It's because there's problems with this land. So why do we want to force the issue and try to build density or residences or subdivisions on these areas when we can protect them? And I want to do an inventory of these areas, and I want to see a connective trail from these little thicket woods to rock boulder outcrops to the areas along the creeks and the streams. Let's provide some more trails. Let's do some inventories too of what's existing and see what kind of repair we need to do to the trails. Trails are always needing addressing, whether it's natural stuff like mulch or do we go to pavement and concrete. So let's look at all the trails and see what can happen.
Seat C. Mr. Caesar.
So the very first candidate survey I received was from the Franklin Bike and Walk Path community. It was the very first one I responded to. And I have a history of fighting for better bike and walkability in this town. And if you watch the Board of Zoning Appeals, I hope you don't, because you probably have much better things to do in the evening. But if you do, you'll see me fighting with folks here who want to avoid having to build connectivity, having to build bike paths, having to build walk paths. Our city needs bike and walk paths. As a matter of fact, in 2009, I ran for city alderman. I lost by 38 votes. My campaign was almost solely spurred by me wanting the folks who lived in my community to be able to get to school without having to get in a car. I also wanted to be able to enjoy the Harpeth River more completely. Now, we've certainly come a long way since then, but we're not done yet. We need to provide our community a way that they can exercise, that they can commute without having to get in a motor vehicle.
Patrick George.
So I think it's important to have, obviously, paths and access points, but we got to be careful how far our government edicts go with creating maybe cities that are just walkable and bikeable and turn this into a 15-minute city. That is very strong opposition for me on that. When we talk about 15-minute city, what we start talking about is having the city controlling the way we live, how we work, and how we commute ourselves. Now, we live in a community where the majority of us have vehicles. The majority of us enjoy walking downtown. The majority of us love parking downtown. And then we go back to our homes and enjoy that too. But, you know, I'm a strong advocate, obviously, for recreational, but not at the expense of environmental. We use a third of our water from the Harpeth River. I think that's important. This is a big scope picture that is not just a one answer that is short term. This has long-term implications of how we shape our future for our kids.
Mr. Mavala.
Healthy community is the best community where you will have peace, you will have happiness, good family. I want to see all the kids going to school in their bike. I want to reduce the density of traffic in the city. So I support strongly, and I also see the work done by Pam Lewis, how much she has done for the city, for the parks, and Lisa Clayton, how much they have raised the funds, how much greenways, preservation, sidewalks, lot of things have been done by great people, including the city today. So I strongly support the greenways, the river walk, and the sidewalks, so we all can live happily and we can have good exercise by walking, biking, and I support strongly that we have sidewalks and the bike walks.
Question 7. Seat B, Mr. Moore. How does local leadership best inspire citizen engagement in a community where so many are new residents?
As I stated earlier, I am interested in side committees of different sorts, and it will be all local city people, no matter what. I don't care if they're from California either, or New York, or Illinois, Chicago. We're seeing them come in here from different areas. They've got different thoughts about what they would like to see done, so I will involve them. I'm also, while I'm at it, I'm going to see which ones and vet them out privately in my own minds. Who might be a good candidate? Who wants to be an alderman? Who wants to be a mayor? Who wants to be a school board member? We have to do a better job of getting out and finding these people that want to serve on these committees. The money is a terrible issue. I'm not in this for the money, and I'm going to make a statement right now to show you how much I believe in what I'm doing. I'm donating all of my salary for the next 4 years, if I'm elected, to homeschoolers, to PTO groups, to school board efforts, anything that helps children and families, the inner city people who may need help with their homes.
Brandy Blanton.
So how does local leadership inspire citizen engagement? I think there's a few ways you can look at that. If you talk about us as a board, the way we engage our community is by inviting them in to be a part of the decisions that we make, to come to alderman meetings, to come to anything that we have, whether it's an Envision Franklin update or what have you. But the bigger thing that I think we are really good at in this community is partnering with other entities who care about the future of our community. If you look at that front row right there, you see the Chamber, you see Franklin Tomorrow, you see the Williamson Herald, you see people that are invested in our community that bring that collaboration, that bring that interest in what's going on in so many ways. We can always expound and think of new ways to engage our citizens, but I think we do a really good job. And I think that we are transparent. You can find anything that you need to find about the city to begin with on that website. You can look at meetings live and after the fact. And the same thing that goes with what happens with our partners.
Seat C, Patrick George.
So it's interesting, I spoke to a gentleman that was over in Franklin Green who his background and his resume was just amazing on the building codes and what he was doing and where, what his professional background was. He said to me that he offered his expertise to the city and was turned down. I think when we look at community engagement from leadership perspective, we really got to look beyond just sitting here up in our seats. We need to get involved with the community. And I think as you're campaigning, right, it's really, what is campaigning? It's listening to the voices of the people. Every door you knock on, every voice that you hear, whether we provide the information or not, it's not getting to them. Maybe they're not being educated enough. I spend more time educating people on the issues and listening to how they, are concerned about the future of our community. And I think that's important. We need to look at it in a sense of getting out proactively, not sitting in our chairs.
BK Mufala.
I have been in a national in US and internationally. I have lived and I have seen several organizations, and I have been in the leadership roles in several organizations, community and non-community. And the leadership engagement is like, you need to be not a leader, you need to be a servant leader. You need to be a servant, then only the society can accept you. If you are not with the society, if you're not with the citizen, if you're not talking to them on regular basis, what is the point of you being leadership? How can you know what the citizens need? How can you know what the people need? How can you know what the city needs? So you need to engage yourself with each and every family, every person. I like so many people who are the role models for me. So I would like to engage with each and every one, whether it is social media or in person or with city meetings or wherever, whether it is church or XYZ.
Greg Caesar.
So I may only agree with one thing from Mr. George, and it's that in order to better involve ourselves with the community, we need to lead, but we need to lead by being involved first. And in the different nonprofits that I've engaged myself with since coming to Franklin in 2007, I've met an amazing amount of people, and many of them I see sitting in this room. And through that, we've not sat on opposite sides of the political fence, we've developed relationships. And relationships are what will move our city forward. I think that maybe I don't agree with everyone here, but I love the fact that I'm open to have a conversation with everyone and to listen. And that's what's really special about this electoral process, is that it forces us as future leaders of the city into the community to knock on doors, to have conversations with folks so that we can better create relationship, and that inspires us to better lead our city.
Seat D, Ann Peterson.
Well, first of all, I do want to say that it is really wonderful that people do come to our meetings, and also many of them watch it on city TV, so you can find out what's going on. Or if you don't come and you want to know about something after it's already happened, you can go on to the city website and watch the meeting, just again there. But to say something about being engaged, I think that is very important, and going out and getting in touch with people and just hearing what they have to say, I think is very helpful. I don't know how much time I have, but the other day, on Saturday, I went to St. Paul's to pick up some food to take because they were doing takeout, and there were some people out on West Main, and so I just happened, oops. Too bad.
Mr. Feldman.
So this is a great question, actually, because when I moved here, I was like, well, let's look. Let me do what I've done in every other city I've lived in. Let's get involved, and I wanted to see what committees or boards I could apply to and get on, and that stuff's not listed. You can't do that. So I was like, well, that kind of sucks. So I actually am partaking now with the Citizens Government Academy, and I was told by our the Franklin City Attorney, oh, that stuff's easy. You can get on that. All you got to do is, if you know the mayor, just get him your resume, tell him what you want to do, and when there's an opening, he'll put you on that board. And I'm like, whoa, okay, well, that's not how it's done in most places. And that is very discouraging. And as I do knock on all these doors that I go to over the last 2 months, I hear a lot of the same things.
Question
That
8,
was a quick minute.
Mr. Mavala, you're first up. Tax incentives for a relocating, expanding employer have been authorized by Franklin only 3 times since 2011. In-N-Out Burger, Lee Company, Lampo Group, Ramsey Solutions. What do you feel are the most important aspects to consider on any future vote for tax incentives?
I think I strongly oppose the government should not get into the business of giving or paying some employers to bring their organizations here. If we are doing that, we need to do it fairly. What about the organizations that were there before? They have created employment. They will be creating employment. And why are we doing only for certain organization? If you look into the per capita income of Williamson County and in Franklin, we are all wealthy here. And if any company, any organizations want their business and it is a demand and we are able to pay, so they will come here. I don't think that we need to do fair to someone and be unfair to someone else.
Greg Caesar.
So number one, I think they should be used sparingly. And it sounds like based on that number, Tom, only 3 since 2011 is fairly sparingly. I think they should be judicious. I think they should have thresholds and fair expectations to ensure that they meet those thresholds. And if they don't, we should claw those monies or those incentives back. We're looking to bring great leading organizations to our community that not only bring people with them, but that help people who come here build careers. And so if we want to compete for the top corporations in Williamson County and in Franklin, we probably have to make sure that we're providing corporate incentive packages, not to choose winners. But let me share one interesting fact about In-N-Out Burger. The land that In-N-Out Burger is on right now generates just over $200 a year in tax revenue. In 10 years' time, that same exact land will generate over $200,000 in tax revenue for us, in addition to the sales tax revenue that will come out of the building that's selling hamburgers and amazing fries and even has a secret menu on the basement of that building.
Patrick George.
So I'm a little bit different. I don't think I should be gambling with taxpayer dollars. I'm not in the business of picking winners and losers, nor should anybody else here in the city government. Corporate welfare is not the way we build and preserve Franklin. Its ideals and values were based upon the community that you heard it from each and every one of us. We chose to live here because we love our community. Corporations choose to come here because it's great atmosphere. They can get great talent here. We are not taking our tax dollars and trying to guess who's going to be the best employer, who's going to be sticking around the most, who's going to build our community for us. We're in charge of our community, and it's all in the people's hands, and it's for us to be able to grow our community the way we want to do that, not through corporate welfare.
Seat D, Mr. Feldman.
Yeah, I'm an absolute no on that. That should never happen. This is a really attractive place to live. It is full of really smart people. These corporations know that. I'll be honest, I'm flabbergasted that you just said that it's happened 3 times, and those 3 times were Dave Ramsey Solutions. I guess, I don't know, they don't have any money. They probably weren't going to stay here because they were here before. And they have great employees right here, so I could see why they would probably want to just get up and leave. And Lee Company, multi-billion-dollar companies are getting tax breaks. I'm sorry, can anybody raise their hand in the audience and tell me they got a tax break to move here? Yeah, just for those of you at home, I don't see any hands. So I don't think we need to incentivize multi-billion-dollar companies or any companies to come here.
Ann Peterson.
Well, let me tell you, I remember whenever there was no Class A office space in the city of Franklin. 0 Class A office space. Brentwood had some, but we didn't. But not to say that that is the reason to give incentives, but I've just seen something, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. I found something where it was talking about Primus, which was Ford Motor Credit, was one of the first big office spaces in Cool Springs. And the thing that was telling, it was an article in the newspaper telling about, it said probably as soon as they built the first 2 buildings, and then they were getting ready to build the 2 second buildings, and they said they will probably become the biggest employer in Williamson County whenever they built those other 2 buildings. And they did build them. So, I don't know how much that had to do with the incentives because of it.
Seat B, Brandy Blinton.
So I supported all 3 of those, and I can tell you that it came on the heels of what I would think after Primus was our biggest corporate headquarters, and that's Nissan North America. And I think the other thing that people don't understand, not only do these entities bring jobs to our community, good jobs, so that they're not having to traverse to Nashville or Murfreesboro or wherever the other town is, they get involved in our community in a way that changes lives exponentially. The opportunity to support nonprofits in a way that some of our small businesses can't. Greg, I agree. You took what I was going to say about the property over on Goose Creek Bypass. I think people see the short version and they don't understand that none of this is taken away from our schools. That is always off the table. We support our schools, but it is a game changer for the long haul. And I do think that not every shoe fits, but so far I support the last 3.
I'm going to have to seek clarification here.
What'd I do wrong?
You didn't do anything wrong, dear. I'm just old. Okay? Mr. Moore, you haven't answered this question yet, have you?
I don't think so.
Okay. And while you are answering, I think I just got in my ear that we're going to go to the final question as soon as Mr. Moore answers.
Okay. Debt is debt is debt. When I grew up on a farm, when we had a debt, we had to pay it off. We weren't given tax incentives to buy land and equipment, people. That's not a real world. Now, do I want to stop growth and people from moving here and hiring people? No, there's a sensible way to do it at a much less cost than what we went through with In-N-Out. So let's take that money and start returning it to the debt. If we want to pay someone to move here, why not use a portion of that and put it on our debt? We're $150 million in debt, people, and if we do this city hall, another 100 to another 150 million, we're looking at around $300 million for the city of Franklin that we're going to pass down to our kids and our grandkids and maybe our great-grandkids, people. So let's see if we can get this debt load off of us, and then, yes, let's help these people. Now, the city hall needs to be moved, and we need to take this area and incentivize all small businesses we can, because a small business is making Franklin what it is.
Amen.
There will be no closing statements. We have time for one more question, but we really don't. We've got 5 minutes.
Let's do a lightning round.
No, she said it's for.
No questions from the audience, please. So, let's go with one more question. And make it as quick as possible, please. It's a generic question. What measures would you propose to enhance the quality of life and overall livability to the area? And Peterson, you're first up.
Gosh, that's really tough. The quality of life here, I think it's so wonderful for most people already.
That's short enough. Mr. Feldman?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is to do what we can to really encourage civic engagement. I think that's a really hot topic that we should really have in this day and age. I think that we should encourage everybody to want to be on a board. We should not allow people to sit on boards for 10, 20, 30 years. We shouldn't let people sit up here for 10, 20, 30 years. I think we should involve everybody in the community. And I think the way to do that is to hold ourselves accountable and to know when is the right time to allow somebody else to come in here and serve their community.
Mr. Moore, seat B.
Quality of life begins with children and families. I have children, you have children, we have grandchildren. Why in the world do we want to try to bring in some of these festivals and events that are doing things outwardly that people and their families can see? Yeah, they got a choice of whether to go or not. Sure they do. But they're advertised as family friendly. I don't understand family friendly and sexualization. Those two do not go together, people. So let's get our children and our families back to a moral compass that we all have somewhere within us. It points due north, people, if you just think about it. It does not go to the left or the right, or it does not go south. It goes due north. So let's do something about our children and families.
Brandy Blanton.
I would continue to support the plans that we put in place that only continue to enhance and promote our quality of life. I will tell you, my quality of life over the last 6 weeks has not been as great as it was before. So I will tell you that I think once this election is over, we got to get back to each other. We've got to get back to not picking sides and upholding the leadership and the decisions that have been made that brought you all here in the first place.
Seat C. Mr. Caesar.
Well, I said this at the onset, and I'll finish with it, that this is about community at the foundation of my campaign. It's about bringing us together. I think that we have a pretty doggone good quality of life here in Franklin, and it's shown by the number of folks who have come here in the past 2 or 1 or even shorter time periods. People are coming here because we have a great quality of life, but it's not perfect, and it may never be perfect, so we have to work to make it better. I think trails, to give us time to go and walk and be in nature and enjoy the trees that are here. As a matter of fact, we were at Williamson Inc. this past week doing a radio show, and we got to look out over the Cool Springs area, an area that I'm certain when it was developed was contentious, and people were up in arms about building a mall here in Franklin. But if you look out now, there's more trees in the Cool Springs area than there were before the mall. And so we've developed that excellent community on the backs of some good development. And I think we can do better with trails to give us an opportunity to go out and appreciate the great greenery that we have here in our city. And then finally, I think it's important that we have measured growth, because the thing that frustrates most is being in traffic, and we have to address that.
Mr. George.
So I think when you're asking that question, if you're relying upon me or anybody else up here to give you a good quality of life, it's probably not going to fit or meet your expectations. Really, that's not the role of government to get involved with your life. What we can do as alderman and as mayor, we can only enhance the portions of it from the city by hearing your voice. It's not something that we can provide for you. And I think when we look at zoning, traffic, infrastructure, these are critical issues. But we can look at this from a divisive standpoint, and we look at it from a unified standpoint that we say, hey, Franklin is our community. It's not run by outside influences. It's for corporate welfare. It's not run by those who are influencing our long-term plans for our city. It begins with you and it ends with you. You are our community, and we are elected officials who serve you. You don't serve us, and I think that's important.
Mr. Mavala.
So, measures of quality life, right? It's family. A happy family is a good family which can bring the progress to the home, to the city, to the nation. And I would like to see, like, I would like to address mental health issues. I would like to see walkability, parks and recreation, small business growth, affordable housing, and decrease the congestion of traffic and build the infrastructure in such a way that there won't be any issues tomorrow, which can be done with whoever is building in that area in the collaboration with profits and non-profit organization, bring less carbon industries, support city employees, and get involved community engagement. Each one of us should know each one of us. Then it's called a community, then it's called as a family, then there will be a growth, then there can be a prosperity. That is how we can bring the quality of life to the city and to the nation.
The candidates for Board of Mayor and Aldermen have spoken. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back with the two candidates for mayor. We're in the mayoral part of the candidates forum for Franklin Mayor. Opening statements. Gabrielle Hanson, you have 60 seconds.
Imagine a government that has accountability to you, the citizens. The city should represent your interests, your voice, and uphold traditional values that have made Franklin one of the most desirable places in America to visit and call home. Our children are not just the leaders of tomorrow, but they're the inspiration of our future. Through their eyes, we see the possibilities of what Franklin can achieve. And that is why I am running for mayor, to protect the heart of Franklin, to protect our family values and our precious children. I am against all mandates for masks or business closures. I want to protect your small business. I am not for public transportation or smart cities. I will uphold your freedoms, and your freedoms will remain constitutionally sound under my leadership. Wise and cautious spending will make sure that your asset and investment in Franklin remains strong and your taxes do not increase.
Dr. Ken Moore, you have 60 seconds.
Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you for the organizers, and I won't mention everybody by name because I know it's already happened multiple times, and I appreciate everybody showing up tonight. Serving as mayor of Franklin is one of the greatest honors of my life. My wife was born here and raised here in Franklin and can trace her roots back to many generations here in Williamson County. She and I both share a deep love for this city, and I'm running for re-election to ensure that we don't lose what is special and unique about Franklin. I hope that tonight we can both be transparent with you as voters and talk with facts and not fiction. It's critically important that as leaders we are trustworthy and we talk about getting things done for the people of Franklin instead of trying to nationalize a local election. I'm proud of what we've accomplished at the City of Franklin, whether it's Mac Hatcher Parkway, Franklin Road, many of the other things that you know that have happened in our community and the many recognitions we've received. I believe that what I offer the voters in this election is trusted leadership and proven results.
First question. Each of you have 90 seconds to answer all questions. First question, first to Dr. Moore. What are the top 3 issues facing Franklin and how do you address them?
Top 3 issues facing Franklin are transportation or infrastructure, housing, and workforce. We've known this for some time, and we're addressing all of them in some form or fashion. As far as transportation, I'm on the Regional Transit Authority. I'm also on the Transportation Board and have made many meetings with the Commissioner of Transportation to talk about our transportation needs, and in fact recently advocated $5 million for the widening of Southeast Mac Hatcher Parkway. As far as housing, it's a very difficult problem to solve. We need more workforce housing. I recently had a meeting with the director of the FHFA and with some other people, strategizing how we might be able to access more of the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac money that is somewhat tied up. As far as workforce, we've made this city a business-friendly community, and we'll continue to keep it a business-friendly community moving forward, working with the chamber and working with many other organizations within our city.
Ms. Hanson?
First thing is a town hall. This is your community. We want to hear your voice. We want to know who you are. We want to open up City Hall on Sunday afternoons. We want to have snacks and refreshments. We don't want to gavel you out on questions. We want you to take the time to get to know your city, who runs your city, and answer all of your questions. We want to send you on a scavenger hunt all over the community to learn the different departments and who works in them and what they do for you as a community. And then you come back with your scavenger hunt badge and you get a little piece of swag that says City of Franklin on it. I want to address the municipal code, not that there's anything significantly wrong, but over time, things have slipped through the cracks and things have progressed and we've caught some errors and we need to do a deep dive and make sure that everything matches, everything is up to date and everything represents our citizens' best interests when we deal with our ordinances and municipal code. And the third is accountability and transparency. With our committees, we oftentimes don't even know who's applied. We never see the resumes. They never know if anybody sees their resumes. And we mysteriously see a name on our agenda to vote for. Many times they're awesome and we go ahead and vote them in, but it's not till after we take the time to Google who it is. We don't get a lot of information. And I want the city to know that we do want you on our committees. We do want you to apply and we want you to come into City Hall. We want to meet you. We want to interview and we want the public to see who's applying and everybody get involved.
Second question, Mrs. Hanson, you'll answer first, please. The mayor votes only in the event of a tie among the aldermen. How would you describe the mayor's duty to represent the interest of citizens, although he or she may not share the social, cultural, or religious beliefs?
The mayor very much sets the tone for the city according to our city charter. The mayor also issues directives to the city manager. I believe that the mayor will influence the tone, the culture, and the agenda for the community through his or hers advice to our city manager, ultimately through the board of mayor and aldermen. It's very, very important to set the certain expectation for family values, for a culture that has traditional values and really represents the majority of our citizens in the community.
Dr. Ken Moore,
Would you mind repeating that question?
the mayor votes only in the event of a tie among the aldermen. How would you describe the mayor's duty to represent the interest of citizens, although he or she may not share the social, cultural, or religious beliefs?
Well, I've been setting the tone now for 12 years. I've represented this city. I am the face of the city to many areas of the region, whether we're talking about the Mayor's Caucus, whether we're talking about the Regional Transit Authority, the Tennessee Municipal League, the Greater Nashville Regional Council. My job, as you know, I rarely vote, but the job of mayor is much more complex than running the meetings. It's necessary for me to be out in the community, interacting with all the organizations in our community, the nonprofits, which much of my time is spent going to those events. It's supporting the nonprofits that are helping us as a city in a partnership, such as Franklin Tomorrow, such as Friends of Franklin Parks, and many others that we have here, Heritage Foundation. So I think in many ways, my job is to be more of a PR person sometimes rather than being a mayor.
Question number 3. Dr. Moore, you will answer first, please. What is your vision of a successful Franklin? And how do your principles and track record indicate that you'll go about pursuing that vision?
A successful Franklin is a town where people want to live, work, and raise their family. That's what we have. That's why we're growing at 2,000 people a year for the past 20 years, is because we've created an environment for businesses to come, for families to come, for retirees to come. We'll continue that effort when I'm reelected.
Gabrielle Hanson.
A successful Franklin incorporates the citizens' ideas and wishes on a majority basis. It is not representation without, or taxation without representation, as we've seen. As I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people pack an audience, but yet their voices and their wishes and desires as constituents go unheard. I believe that by honoring the voices in our community, we become a more cohesive community, and more gets done, and more people are more willing to work together when the majority know that their voices are heard.
Fourth question. What will you do to unite the people in the city of Franklin, Gabrielle Hanson.
It's actually about engaging them and letting them know that for the first time ever, they have a chance for their voice to count. We really care about you, regardless of the color of your skin, how much money you have in the bank, how much education you have. You really matter. Your thoughts, your feelings, your dreams, they matter to us. We want you to be a part of City Hall. We want you to come up here for the town halls. We want you to apply for committees and participate. That is how you unite people, by letting them know that they really genuinely matter to you.
Dr. Ken Moore.
I have been uniting the community. You can look back to about 6 years ago whenever we started Unite Williamson, and that initiative was to help people understand who their neighbors were. We have a very diverse community. We have people that don't dress like other people. We have people that have different skin color and have different accents. And the goal of Unite Williamson was to help people understand who their neighbors are. And we've been very successful. The events that we've had over those years, many of us have made friendships with people that we never interacted with. I remember one year whenever we were having our event, one of the speakers said, "Everybody take out their cell phone." And I just froze. I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Find somebody you don't know and exchange information." I got to exchange my information with a Pakistani American, third generation. Got to have lunch with him. Got invited to his son's wedding. And so we are working to make sure that everybody knows who their neighbor is. My door is always open. I meet with people on a regular basis from all different walks of life, all different kinds of interests in the community, and hopefully place them. As far as committee appointments, we get lots of applications for committee appointments, and I vet those committee applications along with, and I'll go to that later.
Fifth question. Dr. Moore, you'll answer first, please. What is your philosophy of healthy growth for Franklin in terms of land use, density, and population?
Well, I think a good example is what's been happening for the past 20 years. We've been growing at 2,000 people a year. And we have a land use plan that we're currently revising that is created by input from our citizens. We also have a transportation plan that is linked to land use, and we have a zoning ordinance that codifies the land use and how we move forward. In addition, I think that's good.
Alderman
I'm
Hanson?
still a little anxious. I don't know about y'all.
Healthy. It is warm in here. It's about 10 degrees cooler in the back. Healthy growth. That means that we can provide housing to some level for everybody in our community. We can't provide the right kind of housing for everybody. We don't overbuild. We shouldn't put density all over our community just to pack in more people to grow our population. But we should think about the people who need housing in our community, who are doing everything right but just can't get a break because our housing prices are going so high. The other thing we need to do is watch our land use so we do preserve our rural open spaces, our view sheds, our hills, the beautiful scenic roads that we can drive down that really brought many of us to this area because it is so beautiful, even though we go to our wonderful neighborhoods that have our neighbors just a few feet away. But if we build it, they will come. So we have to think about what it is we're building. So less is more.
Question 6. Gabrielle Hanson answers first. What is Franklin's role in the regional transportation discussion, and how can you move the discussions into a level of real action and solutions rather than simply more conversation?
I know most people from a more metro perspective would say, let's add light rail, let's add buses, let's do lots of public transportation. And we're looking at transportation hubs in all of our new mixed use and density. Just so you know, it's on the table for discussion. I am against public transportation. Our trolleys that we use now cost $40 a head. I don't want the public to hemorrhage financially because of transportation. Do we get gridlock in the mornings? Yes, and it gets earlier and earlier all the time. We do have a responsibility to increase roads within our community, to make the flow go better within our community, but I don't believe that we need to burden the taxpayers with public transportation.
Dr. Moore?
Well, I guess you're going to stop the people that are going to medical appointments from having a ride. You're going to stop the people with disabilities from being able to get to work. You're going to stop the people that are going from drug court, that are going to jobs that they need to continue to recover. So I am for public transportation. I've been heavily involved with public transportation since I took office. I am part of the Regional Transit Authority. We have a regional bus that carries folks from this area to Nashville. And we do have a problem. We have 70% of our workforce that comes in here, but also we have an equal in and out in Williamson County and Franklin. We have as many people leaving Williamson County that are coming from Davidson into Williamson County. So we have a good setup for some type of public transit. We have looked at the Southern Corridor as far as all those things you mentioned, as far, Alderman Hanson mentioned, as far as options. And I'm encouraged by the Transportation Modernization Act that was just passed, where there's an opportunity for choice lanes where buses could ride free and increase the time where people, or decrease the time for people to get from one spot to another spot regionally.
Question 7. Dr. Moore will answer first. What do you think local government should do, if anything, to promote more affordable housing opportunities in the area?
Well, we've been very active with working with the Franklin Housing Authority, and we've actually helped them financially with some of our community development block grant money to get projects done and to get those tax credits that they need to move those projects forward. I personally think that they're fulfilling a great need in our community. I think our big challenge is workforce housing, since 70% of our workers come in from other areas. So we, as I mentioned, we recently met with Director Thompson from the FHFA, talking about how to free up some of that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac money, which are loans. We'll continue to work on that. We've lost most of the tools that we had to encourage workforce housing and affordable housing and developments, such as the inclusionary zoning. We'll see if the legislature ever wants to tackle that again. Also, the way we annex has changed, which creates more difficulty as far as us trying to build more workforce or affordable housing.
Gabrielle Hanson.
It's a challenging debate and one that's been on the table for the 11 years since I've lived here. As a realtor, my heart breaks when we go through the numbers and people just cannot afford a home in Franklin. And it's not that they haven't done everything right. They have great credit. They both work great jobs. They've saved their money, but our home prices and our land values keep going up astronomically. And we have fantastic community partners in the Franklin area, including the Housing Authority, the community partners, Habitat for Humanity, Hard Bargain, that attempt to deliver affordable housing that is attainable and it's for purchase. We have 2 developments on the table, The Hill and Hill Haven, that I would love to see the city participate in to get those over the top, get them completed so that we could deliver 64 for-purchase homes and change somebody's life. And this will change generations to come when they are invested in a community through home ownership. And those are all deed restricted. There's no strings attached federally. These are not subsidized homes. They're not Section 8. They're for purchase for responsible buyers who are working and have done everything right. And it really changes the heart of a community when you offer that opportunity.
Eighth question. Gabrielle Hanson, do you support a connected network of paved trails and greenways throughout the city, possibly a river walk?
I do support it, and I do think the city has done a wonderful job with connectivity, multimodal pathways throughout town. 96 was a fantastic addition. They've expanded some trails, and the latest preservation opportunity could expand another trailway. Not sure about the discussion on the Riverwalk. It would be nice as long as it was not invasive to neighboring buildings or homes. It's an expensive endeavor. Our developers do participate somewhat in that opportunity, and it adds so much to a community to be able to get out, enjoy the walkways, the trails, nature. We've done an excellent job through our Parks Department. I think Franklin is really a leader when it comes to that, and I'm very supportive of it.
Dr. Moore.
Well, one of the surveys that our community did said that trails, greenways were one of the most important things to our community. It wasn't that many years ago that we did a walkability index for the city of Franklin. I don't know how they did that, but I'm pretty proud of this city. And when we got the results, it wasn't very good. And I went to the staff and I said, this walkability report is not very good. We need to look at sidewalk gaps. We need to look where we can build more sidewalks. And that's what you see today has happened, is that we've connected a lot more sidewalk gaps. We've built trails or sidewalks on 96 East, 96 West, and watch those sidewalks where people are jogging, they're walking with their kids and strollers. It just warms my heart whenever I see how much activity is on those trails and greenways, and particularly the sidewalks.
Ninth question. Dr. Moore will respond first. Tourism has shown itself as an economic driver in Franklin and the county as a whole over the years, bringing over $1 billion in positive economic impact annually and saving local households way over $1,100 annually in taxes. Where do you see tourism's place in Franklin the next 4 years and beyond?
Well, our tourist market is number 6 in the state. And you're exactly right. $1.19 billion spent in Williamson County in 2022. And 2023 looks to be very promising for even greater sales by people visiting our community. I think what we've created here as a community, whether it's Civil War history or our Main Street, or other options for people, has created a real warm and fuzzy feeling for tourists. We look forward to continue to host many conferences here, and also the visitor that visits Nashville, more and more of them are coming down and spending more and more time here. We've got a great music scene. We've got a great dining scene. We've got a great shopping scene. And I'm honored that I do sit on the Visit Williamson, the Visitors and Convention Bureau, and I just got through chairing that for a year.
Mrs. Hanson?
Robust tourism is vital to all of your pocketbooks. Whether you own a small business and need lots of people in shopping and getting souvenirs and things they can't find anywhere else, or whether you're a major corporation with an outpost here and you need to pay for your high rent in Cam downtown because of our high taxes in the downtown area. We need tourism. But I want to take this one step further. We also need an enhanced convention center so that we can have more steady tourism On the days that our regular weekend tourism isn't in play, we're out of space for conferences. We turn away hundreds of conferences a year that could keep our businesses, our hotels, our workers fully engaged and thriving financially. So on that Sunday through Thursday, we could be robust if we add a little bit more convention space, maybe a small freestanding convention. But tourism is important. This community, this county has done a fantastic job to drive the tourists to Franklin and to Williamson County, and then they all fall in love and they want to move here, just like you and I did.
10th question. Mrs. Hanson will answer first. How does local leadership best inspire citizen engagement in a community where so many are new residents?
I think it starts by opening your doors and opening your books to the public. Let them know you're here, what you do, get them through the doors, get them engaged in the community, and let them know there's a fighting chance that they could be on a committee after they've lived here for a short period of time. Let them know that we want to hear their voice. We want them engaged. We want them showing up at meetings. That's how you get people engaged and involved and invested in this community.
Dr. Ken Moore.
I meet with a lot of people that just moved here. I met with one of the alderman candidates when he first moved here. So I think being accessible as the mayor is a very important thing to do. I'm easy to find. My cell phone number is readily available. My assistant really enjoys putting those appointments on my calendar and filling it up. So, you know, whenever we look at citizen surveys and other options where citizens can have input, we find that our community shows up much greater than what other communities do across the country. We have a very engaged community, and I think that's contagious when it comes to people that move here. They want to be involved. I keep hearing about committee appointments. Hopefully there's some point where I could actually discuss the selection process that we go through. This doesn't seem to be something that pleases Alderman Hanson. I've explained it to her multiple times. I've interviewed hundreds of people for positions. I've had staff work with me on selecting people. That's my option as mayor. If the board wants to change how those are selected, fine. But there are days that I spend the entire day interviewing people for some of those committee assignments. I take it very, very seriously, and we have a talent pool of people in this community that is unbelievable. You know, I look at some of these, I'm not done, thank you.
The 11th and final question. Dr. Moore answers first. Tax incentives for a relocating, expanding employer have been authorized by Franklin only 3 times since 2011. In-N-Out Burger, Lee Company, and Lampo Group Ramsey Solutions. What do you feel are the most important aspects to consider on any future vote for tax incentives?
Return on investment. In-N-Out Burger is fresh in my mind in that I think the pilot, which we gave them, payment in lieu of taxes, was somewhere a little over $250,000. I don't remember the exact amount. But for that, we get a $100,000 investment in our community and 300 high-paying jobs. To me, that's a good return on your investment. You know, the other thing that you need to know about payment in lieu of taxes, when we consider a payment in lieu of taxes, we don't give away the public safety portion of that dollar. And similarly, the county, when they do a pilot, they don't give away the school tax dollar. So we don't do many pilots because 40% of 32 cents is nothing. I mean, so we look for other ways that we may be able to encourage them. And of course, the state is putting significant money in certain projects to make sure that they do move forward, particularly when they have a return on investment. And also there's always a clawback in those that if they don't create those jobs that they promised, then we'll be able to claw that money back.
Gabrielle Hanson.
What do I think is most important? Your voice on any money we give away that belongs to you. Maybe you'd be thrilled to have a new corporation move here and give them a tax incentive, but maybe you wouldn't. Ultimately, it's your money, and you need to know about it before we, as a voting body, make a decision with your money. We have only had a few, and I can understand when we were coming out of the 2008 recession why it was beneficial. I can understand when Franklin was smaller why it was beneficial. But we've had a lot of companies just pull up and move here during COVID because we have skilled workers, a fantastic school system. We have an amazing Williamson Inc. chamber that attracts the best of the best to this area. Just them alone attract people without any monetary incentives. So I am not for giving away your money without your permission and your discussion first.
Cat's got your tongue? I've never seen that, Tom Lawrence.
It's only 7:30, and we're ready to go home. I'm amazed. Closing statement. When we made the opening statements, Gabrielle Hansen went first and Dr. Moore went second. So, Dr. Moore, you get to do your closing statement first, followed by Ms. Hansen.
And how much time are you giving us?
60 seconds, sir.
You're a speed demon. Well, back to the pilots. I'm glad that Alderman Hansen did support the pilot for In-N-Out Burger. Thanks again to the sponsors of tonight's forum and to everyone who's here in the room or watching at home. I've always been grateful for these opportunities for the public to hear about what's going on from us as candidates. We're in here tonight in the same room where our city's governing body conducts its business in an open and transparent manner each month and hears from members of our community. That is what's great about our form of government and the freedom and rights we have to speak our minds and express our views. But with those rights come responsibilities, and especially for those of us in public service. We must tell the truth and be accountable for what we say and do. My opponent has not been transparent and has resorted to using fear and falsehoods to distort my record. Franklin voters deserve better than this, and that's why I'm asking for your vote starting this Wednesday to ensure that we can build on our record of success and protect the unique character of Franklin, a place we have all chosen to live, work, worship, and raise our families. Thank you.
Mrs. Hansen.
As your mayor, I want to ensure that Franklin doesn't become a victim of another national agenda where we lose the historic, quaint charm and character that's become synonymous with Franklin. As your mayor, I will ensure that your government is one that's created by the people, of the people, and for the people. This is very likely the most significant election since the Battle of Franklin. This is a battle for the heart and soul of this community, for our culture, for our identity, and for our future, and for our children. We can't afford another 4 years on the trajectory that we're currently on. I will make sure that this place remains the place that you want to call home, where you want to raise your children, where you want your grandchildren to come and visit, and where you have your happily ever after.
Franklin, the matter is up to you. Now go vote. Good night.